For many years, the League of Women Voters was very active in Framingham. Then it disappeared for several years. But now it's back, right after voters chose to adopt a city form of government. The woman responsible for bringing it back is Stephanie Deeley. And that was a great move. Right after the vote to change the government from a town to a city, you got the wheels turning to bring the League of Women Voters back to Framingham. Were you thinking about it for a while?
I had been. When I initially moved to Framingham, one of the first things I did was to reach out to the League. But at that point, the League was no longer active. And at the time I said, it really needs to be here. But as I've lived here now for 10 years and I realize what a politically active community this is, I said, we need to do this. And we're making, after the decision to turn to a city, we're making decisions that will impact. This is building the foundation for the future of Framingham. And people need to know about the candidates, about the different issues that are coming up. And I think the League's the perfect way for them to get that information.
So what are some of the things that you can do as a League, to bring all of that information forward, to help people become more familiar with their local politics? What are the things you're working on to make that happen?
Here in Framingham, we're planning to do 3 candidate showcases, 1 before the preliminary election, 2 after, where the voters will have the opportunity to send in questions that will then be asked of the candidates. And we are covering the mayoral, the city councilor at large, and the district councilors. There's just too many candidates to cover school committee also, so we're doing those. We're also participating in the National League of Women Voters program called Vote 411, where it's a website where all the candidates running for office in Framingham have been sent a spreadsheet that includes information like their email address, if they have a website, if they have a blog, if they have a Facebook page, and they've been asked 4 or 5 questions that people can access online by just typing in their zip code, and it will tell them what area they're in. And then in a city like Framingham will be, you type in your street address, it will also tell you all the candidates that you would be voting for in your particular district. So we're also actively participating in that.
So that takes a lot of work.
It does.
There's so many details behind everything you just mentioned. So how do you get that all together? Is it a big group of people that have come out to join, and is it just women, or?
Actually, it's mostly women, but we have several men. We have 40 actual members who have officially joined the Framingham League of Women Voters. But we also have a group of about 30 to 40 people that have asked to be on our email list, and they do show up at meetings, and they may have an interest in a particular thing like voter registration, which we'll also be actively working on. But it comes down to having people willing to step up and help. For all of these events, as you said, it's a lot of man hours. No one person can do it alone. And we have wonderful people here in Framingham who are working very hard to inform all of the residents and to give them the opportunity to make a wise decision.
Do you have a goal, like to get it to a certain size?
I'd like to have 500 members, but you know,
you have to start somewhere.
We have to start somewhere. So we just officially became a league in June of this year. So we've been successful in getting 40 people engaged. And we are slowly growing. Every month there's a few more people that join. So we're trying to get the word out there using opportunities like this to let people know the league is back in Framingham. And hopefully they'll be interested in coming down and seeing what we're doing and helping out.
So the League of Women Voters is a national organization.
Yes.
And Framingham is just one chapter.
Yes.
How did you actually have to integrate with the national organization in order to get Framingham's unit as a recognized unit?
I reached out to the Massachusetts League of Women Voters, to their membership chair, and I said we were interested in starting something here in Framingham. So there was 3 people initially who we got on a phone call, we discussed what our hopes were, and then we had just an open meeting in May telling people we were considering coming back to Framingham, and we had close to 100 people show for that meeting. So we knew there was an interest, and we knew that it was a viable thing to do here in Framingham. So then in June we met with the State League, the Massachusetts State League again, and they gave us the criteria for what you need to do to become a chapter in and of your own. We're halfway through that process, so and you have to have 5 members, so we've exceeded that. You have to have a website, you have to have outreach, you have to have a schedule of programs you're doing. So we're there. One of the difficult things here in Framingham is that in an election year where there are so many candidates and so many people working on campaigns, those people can't participate in the voter registration or the showcases because it would be a conflict of interest. So we're looking for, and naturally the people politically involved are the most likely to come join the league.
That makes it very hard.
It makes
so the
it
people
hard.
working on campaigns can't be involved in the league?
No.
And can the candidates be involved in the league?
Both candidates and people involved in the league, involved in a campaign, can be league members, but they cannot work on anything related to the elections coming up. That's where most of our time is being spent right now. So, so we're looking for people who may not have been politically involved in the past to come join the league. You don't have to be a politician or someone actively involved. You just have to care about what's happening in your community.
So what are the benefits of actually being a member?
Well, the benefits of the membership, I think, are that you have a say and you have a voice in the direction that the league will take. You'll have some input on the issues that the league will focus on. You have input on the areas that we're going to reach out to. The particular issues that are important in Framingham. You have input on all of that. We listen to everyone, whether you're a member or not, but obviously a member has a stronger position within the league. So you have a say. You can list yourself as a member of the league, and that gives you a lot of credibility walking into situations where people don't know you. So those are some of the really obvious benefits.
Is there a fee?
It's $50 to join the league.
Is that annual?
That's annually.
Okay.
And if you join as a family, it's $65.
And where does the money for the membership go?
Right now, that $50 all goes both to the National and the State League. It's to fund the programs that are run by the National League, which the local leagues like us take advantage of. One of those being that Vote 411 program, which is a national initiative.
Is that like the red book that comes out, or the
Yes,
before
it's
state
similar.
elections?
It's
or,
similar to
yeah,
that. That's
tells
done-
you both sides.
Tells you both sides,
Okay.
but it's a website. So,
Okay.
And then what we're hoping to do is to print. Not everyone has access to a computer, so we'll be printing out some copies of those, leaving them in places like the library, the Callahan Center, where people can go in and read them if they don't have access to a computer.
Okay, so it's all about communications, getting information out, giving people a look at both sides of an issue or a candidate, et cetera, et cetera. What kind of research goes into that, and who does that research?
Well, we have a voter services committee. There's currently 6 members of the league that serve on that committee, and they are the people that are working very hard to pull all this together. So we contact candidates and ask them questions. We ask them to give us their websites. How do they want residents and voters to contact them with questions? Do they have a Facebook page? We want to give all the residents of Framingham one place they can go to gather all the information they need about all the candidates. For mayor, we have 7 candidates. That's a lot of work for an individual to do to try and track all that down. So we're putting that all in one place to make it simple, because everybody's busy. Everybody has limited time, but this election is so important, and we need to make decisions based on facts and not because our neighbor says this is a great person to vote for.
So if it's based on facts and you're sending questionnaires out to the candidates, how do you validate the information they give you, and how do you really find out about that person above and beyond the things that they tell you about themselves?
Well, the league is nonpartisan, so we don't take a position. We take everyone at face value. What they're telling us is the truth, and their honest opinions and their values. The questions that we ask for the Vote 411 program, the candidates themselves put that information directly onto the national website, so there's no potential for us to make a mistake or to write something incorrectly. We express to the candidates that we're nonpartisan, that they're free to say whatever they want in response to these questions. We're not going to edit or limit what they can say. So we have to take them on face value. Obviously, if we have a candidate who makes a statement that we know to be untrue, then we would raise the issue, but so far, all of the candidates have been very, very agreeable to everything that we're doing. They seem excited to have an opportunity to get their positions and their ideas out there, and we give them a way to do that, and it's it's non-adversarial at all. And so that Vote 411 program, really, we don't do any fact-checking on that. I know this is an era where people think that fact-checking is excessively important. We don't feel that we have the ability to take on that task.
Yeah, no, I just think that people might have the impression that the information that's coming to them is factual.
True.
And so I would imagine you'd have to address that.
We, on the Vote 411 site, when you enter it, it tells you that the information is sent from the candidates, that we don't edit or check it at all.
Okay, good.
So
good.
people are aware of that. When we have our showcases, the questions, the candidates will not have the questions prior to the showcases. So they will all be getting the question at the same time. It's not like they can craft an answer previous to the showcases themselves. So I think that everything we can do to make it as open and transparent and as viable for people to access that we can do with our limited resources, we're doing. But we do tell people we have not fact-checked this information. So
And that'll be in the printed material
that will
as
be in
well?
the printed material as well.
So good. That's then, you know, people are aware of what it is. They're using it as a guide, and they have to be aware of the fact that if something doesn't look right or feel right to them, they need to look into it themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah. Why do you think the League, having expanded to not just be a women's organization, why do you think it continues to be called the League of Women Voters?
It's a branding issue. The League of Women Voters has been around for 98 years. And in the 1970s is when they allowed men to enter. And there has been a lot of discussion over the years about changing the name of the League of Women Voters to the League of Voters or something like that. But the branding for the League of Women Voters has been around for so long that the National decided that it would alter the brand to change it. People may not realize it's the same league. We do have the issue, though, that even here in Framingham, when I first posted about the meeting, there were men who said, "Oh, we can't join," and you know, so it is a difficult issue. I'm not necessarily saying that I think it's the best choice, but the National feels that the brand is important. That LM, the League of Women Voters brand itself is important, and they don't want to change that. So
Okay. So people should just know that in spite of the name, it's open to everyone, and it's more of a historical branding that's being preserved than anything, not an exclusionary implication.
exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, good to know. So what motivated you personally? I mean, you talked about how, you know, you really felt coming to town that this was a politically active community, but there is a lot of work involved in it. What's your passion?
My passion is making informed decisions. I always tell people that I grew up in a house where my father was a World War II veteran, and he used to always, even as a child, say to us, "I fought for your right to vote. Don't ever abuse that right." And I've voted in every election since I was able to, and I believe that that's how democracy effectively works, is when everyone has a voice. I was very surprised when I first moved to Framingham at the low voter turnout. I don't think it's specific to Framingham, I think it's nationwide, but I was surprised. And I think one of the motivating factors for me to actually take the step to do the work to reinstate the League here in Framingham was over the charter issue. It was such a close vote. And less than a third of the registered voters in town voted. So a decision that basically is going to impact every single one of us. That decision was made by people that more than half of the voters didn't even participate. And I also, surprisingly, after that election, spoke to people who said they weren't really clear on what they were voting for when they voted. And I thought, we can't change the vote, no matter which side you were on, it's a done deal, but we can change helping people to be aware and knowledgeable about what they're voting for and who they're voting for. And I thought,
yeah, that's a great mission. And I guess it's going to be a little harder for you now at this time in history, so to speak, because communications is so fragmented and so hard. How do you deal with that?
It's not easy. We try. Recently we had a meeting in August, and there were some people there that hadn't been to a previous meeting, and they said, "We didn't even know you were here."
Yeah.
You know, we have a website, we have a Facebook page. I post on FramGov. We put it on the town calendar, but everybody has their own source that they go to get information. And it seems like, even though we think it's easy to get the word out there because people use social media, obviously it isn't as easy as you think.
Not as easy as it used to be.
No.
I mean, it used to be that also everyone had a landline.
Yes.
There was a phone book.
Yes.
And people had to go home to take a call.
Exactly.
And so you could get people more by telephone, and that
Yes.
information was publicly available unless people paid to have an unlisted number. I'm really feeling old now talking about this.
I am with you there.
But
So.
we know that's not the case anymore.
It's not the case.
Everyone has cell phones.
And many people in our house, if we don't know the number calling, we often don't answer.
Right.
And so just calling someone's house any longer doesn't give you the ability to actually connect with someone. So it is more difficult. So we rely on opportunities like this, and in people that have become aware of the league, join the league, or involved, to spread the word. We look for any opportunity we can to get the word out there and encourage people to participate. So
is mail an option you'll be using at all? It is expensive, right?
It is expensive. We have used mail to contact candidates. I have a fear with people's spam filters that even email isn't a guarantee that people are going to get things anymore. So we did do mail, regular snail mail for contacting candidates. We hope to be able to do a mailing to registered voters in Framingham at some point, but there's over 30,000 registered voters. It's not inexpensive to do, and right now the funds that we do have available, we are doing fundraising. People can donate on the website, but those funds that we have available are being used to host things like the candidate showcases. The town has been very generous in giving us the space at Nevins Hall to do these at no charge, but there are other expenses that come up. So, so right now, being a new league with few members and no financial all the money that members pay goes to the state and national league, so we don't have any financial investment in what our members pay. We're limited in our ability to use the mail, but even though it's old-fashioned, it still seems like the best way. I mean, candidates use the mail to get information out. It's the best way to reach people. So hopefully we'll be going.
Yeah, and it sounds like, you know, one of your goals, obviously, when you were talking about turnout and just reaching more people, it's the most direct thing, I think, right now, considering how fragmented communications has become. So you're going to need funds for that.
Yes,
so you're doing a lot of fundraising. What is your most effective? Is it just membership, or is it donations that come in from people or businesses? What are you hoping for to build up those resources so you can do more?
We recently, our Voter Services Committee has done a Facebook blast, which should get notice about our Facebook page, which includes information on the upcoming showcases and on donations, out to any resident in Framingham who has a Facebook page. So we've invested a little money in doing that. We have not actively done any outreach for fundraising. We are looking at different ways to do that. We've talked about a GoFundMe page. We've talked about, I know that the league in previous years has sold snacks and things at town meeting. We don't really have that option. There's only one more town meeting to come.
Will you do it there? Take advantage
we're
of the
planning
last one?
on, that
would be
on
good.
doing that. So that will give us something. But we're open to suggestions. Marketing is not my strong point, but we do have some people in the group who do have marketing backgrounds and are working to put together a plan to raise funds. We don't need to make millions, but we would like to be able to cover a mass mailing.
Sure.
To maybe host some events that would be at a restaurant or something. We've also been in touch with several restaurants that do the 10% of what we take in today will go to this. So we've contacted some restaurants, hoping to have a couple of those done before the general elections in November. So we're working to raise money. But, you know, there are so many things out there that are asking people for money. It's hard to find the unique way to do that and to put yourself at the top of the list.
I would imagine, though, with so many chapters around the country, that there have to be some best practices that you can take a look at.
You hear more often about the things not to do, actually.
Oh, really?
So,
Don't do this. It was a disaster.
You know, we tried this, and so we do get a lot of input. And the local leagues in this area, Sudbury, Natick, they've been very helpful to us in offering suggestions, and the Massachusetts State League has been wonderful. So we'll get there. Raising money will be tough, but in Framingham, which really is a politically active community. I have confidence that once we put some type of program out there, we'll get a good response.
Now,
Let's
you've
hope.
mentioned that a couple of times about Framingham being politically active. How do you measure that against other communities?
Well, before I moved to Framingham, I lived in Mansfield for a few years, and I had lived in Duxbury for 20 years. And both of those communities were very laid back. There were no, I don't think anyone ever even looked at a town meeting. And in Duxbury, town meeting there were not elected members. It was an open town meeting. Everyone. If we had 50 people show up, I would be surprised. There was no, I don't think FramGov existed back in those days. So there's a lot of ways here that you hear about what's going on politically. There's Access Framingham, which does shows like yours, and Dave Hutchins used to do a show, and those types of shows involve or give people a way to know about the political climate. I don't think I've gone anywhere in Framingham since the election to become a city where I haven't heard discussions, maybe in a restaurant at a neighboring table. People all seem to be talking about it, which I think is wonderful. It surprises me that the low voter turnout, based on the fact that I hear that all the time. But I think that Framingham is active because I think people in Framingham care. We're such a diverse community. There's so many different viewpoints and so many different people who are willing to step up and help and do things in the community that everybody has or there are people that have an opinion that will fit almost everyone's basis for what they think is important. And I think that's wonderful. You know, one of the things I love about Framingham is the broad number of different cultural areas there are and different ethnic areas. And, you know, I am a first-generation American. Neither of my parents were born in this country. So to me, that's wonderful to have that kind of diverse atmosphere, I guess, in the town.
It's something that's cherished by many, that is for sure.
Yes.
That is for sure. And I think that the more information that you get out there, the more people will start to engage and feel like they're a part of it.
I agree.
It is a challenge in a community, I think, that has a high transiency rate with apartments, which tend to turn over a little more than single-family homes,
True.
et cetera. So, and Framingham has its fair share
Of apartments.
so that will always be a little bit of a struggle. And you can point to cities where there are large apartment residences and probably see some of the same trends. But to look at the numbers that you were pointing out about voter turnout, et cetera, and to see the opportunity for growth and for more participation, you know, that's something that I'm sure that you're going to be measuring. When are you going to feel that you've had success? What's going to be the cornerstone for success for you in starting this up and getting it going?
We have a goal to increase the voter turnout for the election in November.
Okay.
Ideally by 20% over what we saw for
the voter turnout, or
voter turnout.
Okay.
Over what turned out for the charter vote. I've been told by some people that that's an overly optimistic goal. I don't think it is. I think that people care, and this is you know, when you buy a house, you may change everything, the wallpaper, the windows, but your foundation stays the same. And Framingham's electing what will be the foundation for our city. And so I think that as people, as you said, it's the summer and people aren't really paying that much attention, but as the fall ramps up and this becomes something that we're hearing more and more about, I'm hoping that people will say we should be involved, we should make a decision and take advantage of the opportunities to learn more.
Yeah. It is something that you can impact while it's happening, but you can't in retrospect.
Exactly.
So now is the time. So you've talked about a few communications vehicles in place. Why don't we elaborate on that a little so people who are watching do know where they should go to get the information?
Okay.
Let's stress that.
We have a Facebook page. I think that you'll see that on the bottom of the screen.
What is it called?
It's the LMV Fram. So,
LMV, as in Victor, Fram.
Fram. So they will see all of our,
LWV?
I'm sorry,
LW.
League of Women Vote,
Right.
LWV Fram. That's our Facebook
LWV
page.
Fram.
That's the Facebook page, and we have events posted on there as they're coming up. We post meetings that are coming up. We post information about national events that are coming up, so that's a good place. We also have a website, which if you go to the League of Women Voters Massachusetts, so LWVMA, .org, and you will see on the upper right-hand side, it will say local leagues, and you click on that and you'll see Framingham listed. And that website also, it has some links to some interesting information about the league here in Framingham. It has a link to join the league. It has a link to make a donation. And it also lists upcoming events. For people looking to reach out and just contact us, they can email lwvfram@gmail.com, and that is the email address, or my own, which is sdeeley 01701@gmail.com. So those are both easy ways to access us. Those are the best ways to reach us. The Facebook page is the most current and most active. We post on that daily, so there's always something going on there. And if you want to be in touch with what's happening with the league, that's the best source right now.
The best source is Facebook, and it's LWV Fram.
Fram, yes.
And that's on Facebook.
Yes.
And then you've got your websites, your phone number, email. Excellent.
yes.
So people know where to reach you. I hope that there is tremendous success, and you are to be commended for all of your efforts.
Thank you.
you so much. It's really something that I think is so good for the community, something that's going to change and hopefully have a positive impact on politics and the future of issues and decisions that are made.
That's
so
our
I
goal.
hope you feel that your efforts have been well spent.
I'm feeling positive when I get the responses that we're getting from candidates. I think this is going to be successful, and we're here for the long term. So we hope to establish ourselves as a go-to place for
Good.
information.
Well, if you're here for the long term, make sure you set up a good, strong succession plan for.
We will. I know.
Always good to have a lot of people who want to continue with the organization.
And
long
who are
term.
in and know the history.
Exactly.
That's valuable.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Stephanie. Really appreciate hearing more about
Audrey.
it. Stephanie Deeley had the idea to create a new Framingham unit of the League of Women Voters and has seen it through. And now the League is up and running, and we'll be hosting candidates forums to help voters learn about the issues and candidates in the upcoming preliminary and general elections. Again, for more information on the Framingham League of Women Voters, visit the website or call 508-843-4333.